Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Yakshi Malhotra, the founder of the Knit Academy. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. If you are new here, you are in for an absolute treat with the archive of demos I've got for you. So I've got over 200 tutorials, yes, that's right, 200 tutorials up on my website called the Knit Academy if you are looking to learn the more technical aspects of knitwear. So we add demos every single month on there to help you out with learning more about knit, and the information I've got up there is not available anywhere. So we've got pattern cutting, we've got technical packs, we've got linking, we've got a whole archive of swatches to help you get started on your journey. So we've got a lot of beginners guides as well. So make sure that you go check it out. And finally, make sure you subscribe to this channel and show your support. Other than that, enjoy knitting. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so happy to be back in front of the camera. I've noticed a lot of new subscribers, so welcome to my knit world. I'm so excited to have you on board with me. So I'm going to be doing a new series today, which is going to be part of Swatch development. So the way it's going to work is I'm going to do one swatch of one technique and layout, and then we're going to go ahead and make little changes along the way through the weeks. So we will then end up with about 4 or 5 different swatches using the same technique and layout. And it's just to basically give you an understanding of how I work with development within knitting. So I do hope that this is something that you enjoy and find helpful. Now, today we're going to start off with a really basic technique, which is ladders or floats. And I am going to start with one swatch, as I said. So this is going to be swatch number 1. And then it's going to have about 4 or 5 parts to it. So today will be part 1, next week will be part 2, 3, 4, and so on. And then we'll move on to another technique or another swatch and then pretty much do it in a similar manner. So I'm just going to see how this plays out and how you guys like the information and how helpful it is really. But I just thought it would be quite nice to try something new rather than me just releasing all these beautiful techniques, which I enjoy as well, by the way, and I know you guys do, but I just wanted to do something different. So also, if you do have any recommendations, please do put them in the comments below. So just a quick note before we get started with today's demo, do have a look at my Instagram, the Knit Academy, because I tend to post so many different knit content on there which might be really helpful for you, especially if you're a student. And also don't forget to give me a little follow and subscribe to my channel. Other than that, happy knitting. So we've started off by casting on about 37 needles. Now the way I've done it is I've actually planned it out depending on the transfer work I want to do. So once you've actually tried this technique out, and if you do make any changes in regards to the needle layout, you've got to plan the number of needles you need accordingly. So 37 needles, and I've of course already done a little bit of knitting, but from here on is what you need to follow. The yarn I'm using is soft cotton, and the quality I'm using is number 5. And the only thing we need for this technique is a single prong transfer tool. So what we're going to do is we are going to be leaving the first 4 needles on the left side as they are, okay? We won't be touching these 4 needles, and the same goes for the 4 needles on the right hand side. So 4 needles on the edges we are not going to be touching, okay? So we are going to start the transfer work with the 5th needle, so the stitch on the 5th needle. We're going to go ahead and take that stitch and move it over to the right hand side, to the right adjacent needle, and transfer the stitch over. Now, because the technique that we're working with is ladder, that 5th empty needle, so the needle that we've just taken the stitch off is empty, we're going to push it all the way to the back of the bed, okay, into non-working position. So when the carriage moves across, it won't knit it, instead it will create a float.
So now we're going to leave the 4 needles as they are, and then again grab hold of the 5th needle and move it to the right. And then the empty needle goes to the back of the bed. Now you just continue this needle setup all across your needle bed. Now what you've got to do is leave 7 stitches as they are on the edge. Okay, you'll see why. Now just make sure all of your empties are pushed to the back of the bed. Knit 1 and knit 2. And now we're going to go ahead and take the needle next to that empty needle, so the stitch off that first needle within that set of 4, and transfer it to the right. And now push that empty needle to the back of the bed. So essentially what we're doing is we are increasing the width of the ladders as we move along our knitting. Okay, so now we've got 2 needles out of work, which are empty, 3 needles in work, 2 out and 3 in. And now we knit 1 and 2. And now we simply continue doing so every 2 rows. Again, make sure empties are pushed to the back and knit. And now our final one. So we will be left with 4 needles out of work and 1 needle in working position. Now this is the layout I planned out before I decide on the number of needles I need to cast on, okay, which was 4 needles on the edge and then 4 needles laddering and 1 needle working in between each ladder, and knit 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start moving needles back into working, okay? Now what you can't do is push all 4 in because it just won't work. It won't pick the stitches up. We will be working with a single needle every 2 rows, okay? So the needle I'm going to be pushing is the one on the left of that single needle, okay? So I'm just going to push it forward within each section of those set of 4 needles. And I'm going to knit 2. And now I'm going to I'm going to push the next one forward, knit 2, and then the next one forward, knit, and finally all needles and knit. You can see the pattern starting to form. Now I'm just going to show you a slight variation to this, okay, just to give you a subtle shift in the pattern. So we're going to start again by repeating what we've done, okay? So that is transferring our needles, our single needles, and we are again working with the same sets. So just do it as we've done it in the previous section. And one more. Okay, so this is where the variation comes in. Now, the needles that we push forward are going to be slightly different, okay? So instead of pushing the one on the left of it, we are going to be pushing the one on the right of it, okay? So this one here. So the needle setup changes very slightly, giving you a very subtle difference in the pattern, okay? Now, it might not be visible to a normal eye, but to a knitter, it should be visible. Now, this also goes to show that You can actually push any other needle forward if you wanted to, and it will give you a slightly different variation again. And that's the swatch and the pattern forming. So this is the outcome of the demo that we've just finished, and it's so gorgeous. Absolutely love how the pattern has turned out, and you can see making that slight variation to this swatch as well creates a slightly different effect within the pattern. So you could always stick with just this bottom part and do that all over, or do the two variations and create that subtle difference within the swatch. Now we're going to be taking this forward next week into part 2 and making yet another change to develop this into a slightly different pattern. And then we're going to move along into, I think, about 4 or 5 parts to show you how making subtle changes within your knitting process can result in a slightly different outcome. And then you can just see which design it is that you actually like and take that even further.